Hey, and welcome back to another clip view video. Today we're going to be talking about the space between. Introduction to Ma. That feels like stepping into a quiet tea room, soft, reflective, alive with subtle power. It will include examples, metaphors, reflection prompts, and a few Japanese sayings to ground it in its culture. Introduction, the pause that holds everything. So picture this. The door slides open with a faint shh. A tatami room, the scent of cedar and tea. Empty, but yet full. There's a moment in Japanese tea ceremony when nothing happens. The host holds the ladle above the cup. Steam rises. No words are spoken. And yet, in that pause, the guests lean forward, their hearts slow. Something begins to take shape, not in the hands, but in the space between. This is Ma, the Japanese art of the pause, the gap, the fertile emptiness that gives life its rhythm. Ma is the silence between two notes that makes the melody breathe. It is the blank paper that lets a single brushstroke sing. It is the space between your question and my answer, where meaning has room to land. Ma is the space where the heart arranges itself. You might be asking, okay, so what exactly is Ma? Well, in Japanese, Ma literally means space or interval, but it is more than emptiness. It is living presence. It is the intentional gap that allows fullness to be felt. Architects leave Ma between garden stones so the viewer's mind can wander. Musicians in no theater stretch silence so the next sound strikes deeper. Even in the daily conversation, a well-placed pause shows respect. That's right. Pausing so the other person can talk. It's respect. It lets the other words breathe. Western culture often fears silence. We rush to fill every gap with noise, with explanation, with distractions. But the Japanese aesthetic teaches space is not absence. It is the canvas on which presence appears. Well, then why Ma matters now, right? In our modern world, crowded calendars, endless notifications, relentless speaking, Ma is a radical act. It is the choice to let something rest so it can rise with meaning. Kind of like a phoenix. Leaders who pause before responding create clarity. Artists who leave room for I invite wonder. Parents who sit in silence with their children teach safety without saying a word. Silence is sometimes the best answer. Japanese proverb. So, a simple story of Ma. A master carpenter, in Kyoto, was asked why his room felt so peaceful. He smiled. Because I built the emptiness, not the walls. The guest frowned. But emptiness is nothing. The master gestured to the open alcove where a single flower stood. If it were full, where would beauty rest? Alright, so let's do a reflection moment, okay? I'll call this one your space. So, pause right now if you can. Close your eyes. Where is there space in your life? Where is there none? That's even a better question. Do your days breathe, or are they packed wall to wall? Do your conversations have pauses, or only exchanges? Do you allow moments to land, or do you rush to the next? Take 1 minute, write down one thing you might let breathe this week. Alright, let's continue. The journey ahead. Books will not rush you. It will breathe with you. We will walk through temples and tea rooms, battlefields, boardrooms, to see how Ma shaped Japan's art, music, architecture, and even their language, and how it can reshape your own life. That's right, it can. I'm hoping that I can at least help you learn about power and silence, how to design your time with space, not just tasks, speak with pauses that carry more than words, lead, create, and love, not by adding more, but by leaving room. Because in the end, life is not only what we feel, it is also what we leave open. Alright, so chapter 1. The roots of Ma, where silence first spoke. Long before the neon glow of Tokyo, before bullet trains and skyscrapers, Japan was a landscape of forests, rivers, and shrines. It was here that the Japanese people first learned to listen to space. Ma was not a word they invented to describe nothingness. It was the name they gave to the living space between things, the quiet that allows life to breathe. Ma and the sacred and the natural. In Shinto, Japanese indigenous spirituality, nature was never crowded. Shrines were built with deliberate emptiness. The open courtyard before the main hall, the torii gate standing alone in a field or by the sea. We even have them in the sea. And 3, the path that winds, never straight, so the spirit must slow. Each pause, each stretch of space was intentional, a reminder that the sacred reveals itself in stillness, not in clutter. Saying, space invites the gods. The garden that breathes. Walk through a Karensunui, or a dry Zen garden, in Kyoto. A few raked lines, a handful of stones, expanse of untouched gravel. The power is not in what you see, it is in what you don't. Your mind completes the scene, the water between the rocks, the mountains beyond the gate. In tradition, tea garden, or roger, stepping stones are placed unevenly. Why? So you walk slower, so you notice the space between steps. The silence of the garden becomes part of the tea. Ma in the way of the sword. Martial arts, too, are built on Ma. In Kendo, Iaido, and Aikido, the Mahai, yeah, the interval between two fighters, okay, is life itself. To close, and you invite danger. Too far, and you lose opportunity. The pause before a strike is not hesitation. It is strategy, breath, and presence. Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido, right? He taught, and I quote, "The pause between breaths is where the world changes. End quote. A master swordsman knows the strike is born in silence. Ma in everyday life. Ma is not only in gardens and dojos, it is in the old way of life. The empty alcove or tokonoma in a tea room holding just one scroll or flower, kind of like this behind me. The pause before saying itadakimasu before a meal. Itadakimasu is kind of like in Western culture, us bowing our heads in prayer, thanking the Lord for their meal. In this way, we're thanking the cook for the time and effort that was put into creating the dish. The seasonal festival would be number 3, where streets empty to make space for the divine to pass. In these pauses, life was honored not as constant action, but as a rhythm. Inhale, exhale, light, shadow, sound, silence. Alright, so let's take another exercise here. I call this one, Where's Your Ma? I know, a little play on words. I thought it was a good one though. But alright, so look at your room, okay? Look at your calendar. But why don't we just look at your conversations, okay? Is there space for breath? Or is it packed edge to edge? Imagine a Japanese garden in your day, okay? Which stones remain and which gravel needs clearing? Let's get back to this. The hidden strength of the pause. Modern science confirms that tradition always sensed. The brain needs pause. Studies in neuroscience show that moments of stillness improve creativity, even decision making, and even emotional regulation. But don't get Ma confused with laziness. It is the architecture of clarity. As we step further, we will see how this quiet power shaped Japan's arts, its architecture, and even its conversation, where a single moment of silence can speak more than 100 words. Alright, chapter 2. Ma in art, music, and conversation. Where words pause, meaning deepens. Where sound fades, music is born. Ma has always been more than emptiness. It is the stage upon which beauty appears. The silence of the stage, or the Na theater. In Na theater, okay, the oldest surviving dramatic form in Japan is silence in an actor. Really, silence is an actor. The masked performer moves across an almost empty stage. A single drum beat echoes, then stops. The actor holds still, not for seconds, but for a breath that feels eternal. The audience leans in. Their hearts fill the gap. That's Ma. Zemi, the great Noah master, wrote, "What is not said is also part of the performance." This is Ma at its purest. The unsaid, the unseen. The moment where the story breathes. Okay, so what about music, right? Notes held in the air, right? Traditional Japanese music, whether the pluck of the koto or the flute-like whisper of the shakuhachi, is built on space. The pause are not empty. They are invitations. The note lingers, then dissolves, just to make way for the next note. It's beautiful. Modern jazz musicians like Miles Davis echoed this same truth, and I quote, "It's not the notes you play, it's the notes you don't play." End quote. Ma is universal. It is the difference between noise and music. Calligraphy and the art of the empty page. In Shoto calligraphy, the blank paper is as sacred as the ink. The brushstroke means nothing without the silence that surrounds it. A master knows where to stop, when to lift the brush, how to let the white speak. Similarly, Japanese scroll paintings, kakemono, often leave vast areas untouched. The mountains may float in mist. The river may vanish into empty paper. The emptiness is the landscape. The unspoken in conversation. This one's my favorite. In Japanese conversation, a pause is respect. It shows you are listening, not rushing to respond. There is even a term, aizu, pardon me, my Japanese isn't as great. A-I-Z-U-C-H-I, aizuchi. Yeah, aizuchi. Okay, for the gentle interjections that keep space alive. Or it's hai. So desu ne. Without breaking the flow. That's what it means. Contrast this with cultures that fear silence, where pauses are awkward. In Japan, silence is often the truest form of agreement. There's a Japanese saying, silence is golden. Alright, let's do some modern parallels, okay? Like in film editing, for example, the greatest directors use pause to heighten tension or intimacy. Think of Kurosawa's Lingering Clouds or Ozu's Empty Hallways. Or yeah, just pick one of your favorite movies. If you notice when the music gets really low and then suddenly some big action happens and then bam, right? Music pops up and you get a little more bass and treble. That helps the viewer to sink in. That little second right there, even though it might seem like an eternity the first time you watch it, second time you watch it, you already know. That first time though, that's Ma. Every time you watch it now, you can expect it, so you can expect Ma. I just thought that was really cool. In digital design, negative space guides the eye. Apple's iconic minimalist ads are, well, in essence, modern marketing. Like, just pick up like a book or magazine that has a picture. But yeah, why don't you open your phone and look at a picture? Where does your eye immediately get drawn to? That's Ma right there. In public speaking, a pause before the key line can command more attention than a raised voice. Reflection moment, okay? Your conversational Ma. Think of a recent dialogue where you rushed to fill the gap, okay? What might have grown in that silence? What would it feel like to let a friend's words sit like a stone in a garden before replying? Practice one intentional pause a day, okay? Count 3 breaths before your next response. Trust me, this works really good. Use this in interviews? Oh my goodness. They'll be like, oh, we got ourselves a public speaker. It makes you seem like, you've gone to college even if you haven't. It It works, man, trust me. The power beneath the pause. Ma does not only create beauty, it creates trust. A world drowning in words longs for those who can listen. Those who can hold space without hurry become anchors in the storm. Chapter 3. Mastering Ma, the discipline of pause. Ma is not an accident, it is a practice. To pause with to pause with presence takes more discipline than to speak without thought. Did I read that right? To pause with presence takes more discipline than to speak without thought. Yeah. It's just a well-worded sentence right there. To pause with presence takes more discipline than to speak without thought. That is so true these days. I mean, we just ramble and ramble. We don't even think about what we want to say. We just speak it. It's like shooting arrows into the air. We don't know the damage it's going to do until it lands. It is the art of waiting without withering, a holding space without filling it. What about the pause's power? Well, there we go, right? So in martial arts, there's called Mae. 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 The distance and timing between you and your opponent. The master does not rush forward. He measures, waits, lets the moment stretch until the strike becomes inevitable. In negotiation, the sample rule applies. Well, the same rule applies, sorry. A well-placed pause after making an offer is more, well, let's just say it's often more persuasive than a stream of explanation. Another Japanese proverb, there is strength in the space. So, the one I do a lot, I call this the everyday discipline, okay? It's 3 practices. The 3 breath rule, okay? Before responding to criticism, praise, or provoking someone, or them provoking you, take 3 deep breaths. This creates space for intention to rise or over impulse, really. Number 2, the empty calendar slot. Leave one space in your schedule each day deliberately empty. Protect it even, okay? This is where creativity hides. This is time you're setting aside so you can just breathe. Take deep breath. Practice this stuff. Go sit on the bench and just look out. Everything is. I mean, the space between the bricks with the mortar in between, this distance between one blade of grass to the next, the distance between the leaves. Feel the wind as it pulls your hair. I mean, there's so much that we just are blind to, really. It's sad, really. We just could just set time aside for ourselves to go out there and just have a time for us. Oh, man, I tell you, it is better than any addiction you could ever have. Breathing in that fresh air, feeling the sun hit your face, the wind going through your hair. Me, Sit in the back and listen to the wind chimes. The leaves ruffling around. That right there, oh, it's just as plain as can be, and some reason it's very soothing. A lot better than in the city where you have honking horns and sirens and traffic and oh my goodness, it's just constant noise. Alright. The third one is the most important one. I call this the listening bow. When someone speaks, imagine bowing inwardly, okay? No interruption, no preparing your reply. Just receive it. So, hey Joseph, great job today. Just bow on the inside. Thank you. See, that bow is helping you create space before replying. Because, if they said, hey Joseph, great job today, I'd say, thank you. Does that sound very sincere? No. Alright. Modern science meets ancient space. Neuroscience calls this the response delay, okay? A moment between stimulus and reaction that activates the prefrontal cortex. It's the decision-making part. Instead of the amygdala, yeah, amygdala. It's a fight or flight, okay? That's how we know it in the Western civilization. It's a fight or flight. But we always say a fight or flight, but there's actually one more, and that's freeze. No one really knows why, people go into it. Well, they say they do, but I honestly think that they don't know why people pause, or they fight, or they flee. It's just like it's, an action that didn't even come across our mind saying, hey, dude, do you want to run or you want to, stand here or do you want to fight this, Because this grizzly bear is coming, Leaders who master this are calmer, actually. You know this? They're clearer and less reactive. Mindfulness studies show that even a 2-second pause before speaking reduces conflict in tense situations. 2 seconds to de-escalate. That's better than a 1-minute elevator speech, right? Reflection moment. Where do you rush, alright? So ask yourself, where in my life do I fill space too quickly? Is it in your emails, your meetings, relationships, your agenda? Errands. There you go. We all have errands, I know that. How many of us rush in a day to try to get all our errands done as much as we can? Yep, to the bank to grab this much money so I can go and stop to pay my phone bill, and then I need to go over and take care of electricity bill, then you run over here to take care of the water bill, then I need to somehow find time to get over to the store before they close to get groceries. Yeah, see? That's not healthy. Once you divide that into 2 parts, and then with that space in between, it's your time to take a deep breath, pull yourself together, and, and then go tackle it. You just sitting right there taking that deep breath and, practicing Ma. I guarantee it's going to lower your stress levels, it's going to lower your blood pressure. It's going to improve your thinking. Me, I try not to cram everything in one day. Simple as that. Call me a procrastinator, I don't care. To me, I don't like the feel of being rushed. So now, okay. What would one pause per day change? For me, it was my stress. Made me appreciate nature, the weather, how lucky we have it while others in life don't have it as lucky as we do. What about modern relationships? Parents who pause before correcting a child often choose gentler words, right? Partners who allow silence in an argument often uncover the real wound beneath the noise. A pause is not withdrawn. It is an offering of presence. I mean, think about it. Get in an argument with your significant other, your family, your child. How does that argument go? You're arguing with them, they're arguing right back. There's no pause in between. Therefore, are you really thinking about it? No, you're trying to defend your point of view. They're trying to defend their point of view. Now, if you took a second and paused and tried to put yourself in their shoes, what did you just do? Ma, you gave some time, some space, breathing room. Allowed you to think. Alright, let's do another exercise. This is practicing the silent count. So tonight, before your next important statement, count quietly to 5. Feel how your body shifts in that gap. Does your voice change? Does your intention become clearer? Do others lean in? This is not manipulation. It's clarity, given space to emerge, alright? Ma is a daily discipline. So, like a Zen garden, Ma requires tending. It is not achieved by retreating from life, but by weaving pause into life, into your emails, into your steps, into your breaths, most of all, into your conversations. The master of Ma is not silent. They are deliberate. Chapter 4. Ma in Leadership and Modern Life. In a world that rewards speed, the leader who pauses becomes a rarity. Yet it is precisely this pause, this Ma, that makes their presence felt long after the meeting ends. The power of the strategic pause, though. Leaders in Japan often open important meetings with silence. A slow sip of tea, a glance across the table. This is not indecision. It is a signal. It says, we will not rush what matters. Oh, here's a good one. We all know Steve Jobs, right? Famously used pauses during Apple product launches. Yeah, after this, once you go watch, just put that in Steve Jobs, right? When he's talking about it, right? Let me grab my favorite one. How many of you guys know what this is? This is a Power Mac. 2013 Power Mac. But yeah, what they call the trash can. And on stage he says, can't innovate my beep, okay? Beep, yeah, I'm sure you can fill it in. And literally just comes apart like that. If that ain't time dedication, then what is? I mean, look at the space between the chips. Look how they are rearranged and they're in lines, in harmony with one another. That's Ma at its purest. Every day, we're surrounded by it, and yet we're unaware of it. I just thought I'd show you that. It does work. It's just keeps my mind at ease looking at it and remembering that, yeah, we can achieve anything we put our minds to. So Steve Jobs, he would reveal a feature, right? Stop speaking, and then let the audience fill the air with their own awe before continuing. The pause became part of the performance. There's a Japanese saying, it is the space that moves people. I like that one too, that's a good one. Well, let's do a case study because, I kind of like having solid evidence behind my papers I write or essays, research, any of this, right? So this one's called The CEO Who Waited. In 2011, when the Tohoku earthquake and the tsunami struck Japan, Toyota's then president, right? Akio Toyoda, AKIO, right? First name and then last name's Toyoda. Alright, anyway, he delayed his first public statement by several days. Some criticized the silence, but when he finally spoke, his words were careful, they were measured, even compassionate. He did not fill the early chaos with promises he could not keep, okay? His pauses gave his message weight. Like, I know you're all gonna hate me, but you ever listen to our president Donald Trump here in 2025? Don't look at the screen next time you hear his voice. Just listen, and you can hear him. Every time he speaks, there is a pause. It almost sounds like he's preaching at a church. That's how I see it. That's Ma. It's just his tone of voice is very mono. There is no highs, there's no lows. It's all monotone. No. It sounds robotic. And that's what makes literally a speech, really. You can't be robotic. You can't have a flat tone. You gotta have some ups. You gotta have some lows. Speed it up, slow it down. That's how you can keep the audience engaged in whatever you're trying to tell them, teach them, or entertain them with. Alright, modern business and negotiation. Silence after an offer, alright, often prompts the other side to reveal more. A pause before rejecting an idea makes your team feel heard, okay? Ending a presentation with a pause lets the key point echo. This is not manipulation, it is respect, space for others to exist, okay? Another reflection moment. Your leadership silence. Do you fill meetings with talk to appear prepared? Do you rely instantly to every email to seem efficient? Where might a breath invite trust instead of noise? I try to at least write one situation at least once a week, right? Where I will wait before responding to something. Sometimes I wait too long. But when I do respond, I feel like, that is my purest response I can give, instead of just responding right away. I lost my space. Alright, there we go. Modern overlords versus ancient space. Oh, modern overload versus ancient space. Okay, so our devices beg for instant replies, right? Notifications demand reaction, not reflection. But true influence often belongs to the one who resists the pull. In Japan, many companies still honor Nemawashi, Nemawashi, right? Nemawashi, the quiet groundwork of decision making. Conversations happen slowly. Relationships are prepared. Space is left for the idea to take root. Practical ma for leaders, okay? 1. Silent openings. Begin a meeting with 1 minute of quiet preparation. It calms the room and focuses the group. 2. The pause before praise. When you command someone, pause first. The silence makes your words feel chosen, not casual. Space is design. Number 3. Whether you design teams, you design schedules, or even products, leave room for the human element to breathe. All right. Reflection moment. This one is digital ma. Look at your phone or inbox, okay? Could one fewer notification create space? Could one delayed reply open a better conversation? Choose one channel today to slow down intentionally. The leader as a keeper of space. Great leaders do not simplify, fill rooms, they shape them. They create atmospheres where others dare to think, to speak, to pause. Their power is often measured not in the number of their words, but in the weight of their silence. Chapter 5. Ma personal mastery. The living the space, right? Ma is not only for gardens, leaders, or stages. It is for the soul. In a life that moves too fast, Ma is the gentle art of leaving room. Room for a breath, room for a thought. Better yet, how about room for being? The inner architecture of Ma. In a traditional Japanese home, there is always an empty closet, right? We call this tokonoma. It is not a mistake. It is an invitation to place a single flower, a scroll, or nothing at all. In Western civilization, we're starting to get there. We call this being a minimalist. That's the best I can get with trying to explain that with as a comparison. Your mind has such a close, but they are often filled with noise, constant planning, replaying, scrolling. Ma begins by clearing one corner of your day. So breathe as the first space, okay? Every pause starts with a breath. In Zen, monks begin with zazen, which is sitting still. Counting the space between breaths until thoughts slow. The one that was always told to me was the pause between inhale and exhale is where clarity lives. So when I do my meditation, that's how I look inward. So I'm focusing on me breathing in, holding it as long as I can, then letting out, exhaling as slow as I can. When I get there, I hold it there before I take my next breath. So, if you want, you can try this. Inhale to a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Do this 3 times before your next decision. Guarantee you, if you were heated, it will calm you down. Sometimes I have to do this multiple times because, I'm just that worked up. Ma in a home and a relationship. A quiet corner without a screen can rest your evening. Leaving a pause before answering a child's question often leads them to their own wisdom. They figure it out on their own, right? Couples who share silent tea report feeling closer than couples who fill every moment with chatter. This one's my favorite exercise. I call it the alcove, right? So, in my life, I create a tokonoma. It's a chair with no phone nearby, a 5-minute window before work, a drive without music. And then, I try to mentally make a note in my head what space I want to protect this week by doing that. So, modern creativity. Writers call it white space. Painters call it negative space. Musicians call it rest. In each, the emptiness shapes the art. In each of those, that is space. That is Ma. When you step away from your work, walk without headphones, sit without agenda, the idea you were chasing often finds you. Emotional Ma. Space is also the cure for emotional storms. The pause before a heated message, the silence after hearing hard news. Ma's the difference between reacting and responding. Another Japanese proverb says, if you wait, fair wind will come. So, put a little practice guide together, kind of like I did the last one. This is the Daily Ma Practice Guide. So, this guide turns philosophy into habit. Maybe small, maybe large, but it's deliberate gaps that create room for life. So in the morning, set the tone, okay? Sit for 1 minute before checking your phone. Feel the quiet. Whisper. Whisper something positive. Today, I leave room for what matters. Today, I will take my time to think clearly before rushing things. And then there's the midday, right? The breath reset. Between tasks, place your hand on your chest. Inhale, hold it, exhale. Do this twice. Let thoughts settle before you move. Then there's the evening gentle closure, right? So turn off screens for the last 10 minutes before sleep. Sit in silence or sip tea with no words. Let the day land. This one's been a little hard for me. I mean, I escaped to my room trying to find this quietness, this, space. But yet, constantly have somebody that wants to come in here and argue with me on anything and everything. I'm just like, where is my space? Where is, my time to breathe? You don't have time to breathe. You don't have your space. It's not healthy. It's going to stress you out. You're going to get migraines. You're not going to sleep well. You're not going to be hungry because your appetite's going to be gone. And then this continues. You're going to need to see a therapist. You're going to need help. That's why I said, if you're going to want to have a conversation with somebody, be respectful of it. If you see they're in a room, knock on the door, ask, hey, is this a great time? Don't just rush in and say, hey, explain this. That's just, it's not healthy. And I guarantee you, if it pushes me farther away from them, when that person goes and tries to have another relationship with another person, it's going to do the same thing. And guess what? Now you're predictable. You've got a pattern. Now what do we talk about with patterns? If you can find their pattern, you can manipulate them. That's why I always constantly try to change my days up. That's why I don't have really a stamp type look on an agenda every day. Sometimes I will take the dogs out for the walk in the morning. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll sit down and drink tea. Sometimes I'll drink coffee. Sometimes I'll just drink water. And sometimes I'll just come straight home. I'll lay down and I'll just pass the hell out. Alright. So, how I started doing this is I chose one ritual, right? And then I did it that day. Well, I didn't do it tomorrow. I didn't put it off, right? And then it was hard though because I kept on telling me, no, I'll do it when I have time. But I gotta remember, Ma begins when you protect the smallest space. If you don't protect that small space, who's gonna protect it for you? If you don't protect it, others will come in and take it from you. Alright, we'll get to a closing. The space that holds the world. There's a sound that shapes Japan, older than any word. The hush before the temple bell. There is a view that stills the heart. The path of stepping stones that stops just before the gate. There's a truth whispered in every quiet room. What is not filled still speaks. Ma is the pause in the storm, the gap in the sentence, the breath you didn't rush. Does not demand you become silent forever. It asks you to live like a garden, with paths of pause, right? Lots of paths. Action and air. And I always say, because there is space, there is beauty. So carry this with you. When you hesitate before anger, you create peace. When you leave a moment before a promise, you give it weight. When you let silence fall in love, it deepens. The world does not always need more words, more plans, more noise. Sometimes it needs a single heartbeat of stillness, so meaning has room to arrive. So go through this real quick. Put together a little toolkit called Space as a Daily Art. And I labeled it for leaders because I like to think we're all leaders. Pause before response. 1 breath before each decision, okay? Empty agenda time. 1 unscheduled slot each week for reflection. The strategic silence, right? Let a key message rest for 3 seconds before continuing. For creatives, right? For creativity, white space and work, leave part of your canvas, track, or page intentionally empty. Step away from ritual. 5 minutes of non-doing after each creative burst. Listen to the gap. The next idea often lives in that pause. For daily life, morning quiet minute begin with breath, not a screen. Slow sip, drink your first cup of tea or coffee in silence. Space before send, delay digital reactions. An empty corner, create a home alcove, right, with nothing in it. You don't have to have everything decorated on every wall or something against every wall. A daily ma practice, right? A living ritual. Dawn is the seed, okay? Sit by the window, whisper. Today, I allow space. Midday, this is your align time. Pause halfway through your task and just take several deep breaths. And then ask, what needs room to grow? What do I need to do to grow? Okay. And then the third is the dusk, right? That's your closing. So you got your seed, you got your alignment, then you close. When you're closing, just take 1 minute of silence. Let that day settle like sand in still water. That is beautiful. If your creative mind can't freaking picture that sand in still water, that's clarity. That's what word comes to my mind when I read that. And then my reflection moment I'll leave you guys with. I call this your first empty space, okay? What will be your first ma? A minute of stillness? A word you do not say? For me, hate. I remember as a kid I used to say that a lot. I hate you. That should be a word not ever freaking been written, taught. Shouldn't be a word at all. It should be a curse word. Because you can't use that word in a positive sentence. Or in a positive way even. It just rolls off the tongue like a blade. I remember getting smacked in the mouth many times as a kid because I would say that hate you, I hate this, I hate that, I hate raisins, I hate carrots. But when I started replacing hate with a dislike, it gives a whole different meaning to things. That's what I say. Choose words carefully. So that was my word I do not say. I do not say hate. Alright, let's get back to this. A shelf you clear. Try to keep stuff clear. I'm not really that good at keeping stuff clear. That's the one thing I need to work on. A breath you keep before you speak. It's another thing I need to work on. fact, I should write it down. Begin it. And let that space work for me. As a, should be doing the same thing. You should be writing it down. Start it today. And then let that space work for you. This is Ma, guys, okay? It does not need your constant tending. Only your gentle protection. Because in the world between worlds, true message lives. Well, that's all I got for Ma. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment down below. And let me know what you thought. Thanks again, guys, for watching.